This morning is a lesson, really, it's designed just to be joyous, to be encouraging. And I just thought I'd start out by saying Happy Mother's Day. Actually, Mother's Day is celebrated not only in this country, but in 50 countries around the world, but on different days and in different ways. Now, just some of the ones that were surprising to me: Australia, Afghanistan, Bulgaria, China, Cuba, Egypt, most of Europe, Fiji, Haiti, Iran, Iraq, Jamaica, Japan, Kenya, New Zealand, North and South America, Arabia, Vietnam. Wow, I hadn't anticipated. I thought, that's just us. The modern celebration of Mother's Day began and was initiated by a woman named Anna Jarvis of Philadelphia in 1907. And within 5 years, 1914, President Woodrow Wilson made it a national holiday in the USA. And so it's really a joyful and a joyous time. And so I thought about what would I like to do with that, and I thought of different ways of approaching it. I thought, well, we could take some of the outstanding mothers of the Bible, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Naomi, and as an example to Ruth and so forth. And so there are a number of ones. I thought, you know what I want to do? I'm going to take the various qualities of motherhood and talk about what makes a good mother. And as I'm doing this, everybody is someplace along their journey. And it may be, you say, man, I got it nailed. Oh, man, I didn't do very good. Oh, I'm struggling with the idea. But what it's designed to do is say, wherever you are, say, well, I got that one pretty good. This other one I'd like to work on. And so that's kind of the flavor where we're going. And the idea of mothers is over 230 times in the Bible. It shows that's an important part. God made motherhood. And say, well, what does it mean? Well, a mother is simply a female parent. And but the reality is, there's some people don't have any children. There's different types of mothers. There's biological, you gave birth to the young one, or adoptive parent, or a stepmother, or a grandmother, or not even blood related at all, that you're a spiritual mother of, you're a mentor for, an example, you're an encourager, like Paul will say in Romans chapter 16, verse 13, that is, greet Rufus, his mother and mine. That here's some lady that just kind of took Paul under her wing. And she's passed away now, but a number of you would know and remember a lady, Elsa Franklin, down in Sumner. She was older than I, and she always kind of functioned kind of as a grandmotherly type, kind of watching over you. And hey, you could do a little better, Jim. Okay. And just what a wonderful, wonderful attitude. And there's a number of roles that mothers have. And we'll talk about some of these. That protector. And I thought about that. Man, you get out in the woods, you do not want to get between a mama bear and her cubs. I mean, that's legendary. Do not do that. But think about that. That's for all kinds of animals. You don't want to do that even for a mama crocodile and a little crocodile. She's protected them, got them swimming around her. But that's true for wildebeests and all kinds of animals. The mother is very protective of the young. But a lot of times the mom will have a part of being a discipline. In my family, my mother was the primary discipline. And man, she's chasing you around with stuff, and my dad only once in a while. But man, it was notable when my dad did. And but your doctor and nurse and chef and baker and taxi driver and all these other things, confidant, financial counselor, crisis manager, devoted friend. So there's a lot of areas that women do. And this lesson in one level is just to say thank you for all that you do and all that you have done. And on one level, women never stop being mothers, because even when their kids are grown up, it's expressed in a little different way. but you still have that relationship that is cherished. And think about this. The financial reward is modest. The spiritual and emotional are beyond calculation. What a blessing that God designed for us. And so I thought about this, and so I have a handful of things I'd like to talk about. One is the amazing patience of motherhood. So here's this little graphic. Kids just howling. And the text says, you wanted to sleep all night? Well, allow me to sing you the song of my people. And they get, wah! And I can tolerate crying babies for about 14 seconds, and then I'm done. And I tell you, you ever been on an airplane where one kid is really uncomfortable and they're just howling? I thought, man, if I could just walk on the wing, I could get a noise-canceling headphones. I'd pay no telling how much to get that. One mother of 3 was asked one time, if you had to live your life to live all over again, would you have children? And she said, yes, just not the same ones. And so there's those elements of life. Think about in Colossians 3 and down in verse 12. You are chosen by God and put on a heart of compassion and kindness and humility and gentleness and patience. I'm patient with some things, not so much with others, but crying babies is not one of them. Oh my goodness. And think about what happens in some families, and tantrums and arguing and the fighting between kids, and they're just drag and they're late for everything, and or a bad attitude or willful disobedience. And somebody in humor said, that's why some animals eat their young. It's so hard to get them to do what you want them to do. And there takes a degree of patience. And not all moms or all dads are equally patient. And so there's some things we can think about as we grow in patience, and applies to all of us. In Proverbs 14 and in verse 33, here's where the wise man said that what we have to do in order to get there is wisdom rests in the heart of the one who has understanding. If I can understand what's going on in that, maybe inside that kid's head or in their life or whatever is happening, it'll help me be a little more patient with the individual. First thing crossed my mind is, let's just say you're someplace, you're in a Denny's or wherever, and somebody just bumps roughly into you, and you turn around, and you're a little irritated because your food slopped all over, and you see a blind person. What happens inside? You say, oh, excuse me, because you understand there's more than just I was bumped into and this happened, but helps me understand why that happened. And make yourself a goal. Some families and members are yellers. In my family that I grew up in, man, that's, it was 120 decibels. And I decided that's not going to be in our family. And we just don't do that. It's a law, I'll say. You get irritated, you get heated, but you don't have to yell about it. And that's what Ephesians 4:31 says, that all wrath and anger and bitterness and clamor, and you can hear the neighbors next door. He said, boy, I do that. If that's you, you say, I'm going to set a goal. I can do better in that. Or you give kids a timeout, give yourself a timeout. It might be a 20-second timeout, maybe a 20-minute, or maybe a 2-hour time. Make a plan. Say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to approach it calmly. Refuel your body and your mind. Jog, bake cupcakes, do something. It releases some of that inward tension. You go, so whatever you can solve the problem, you just don't have to be fierce about it. And you say, well, I could use some help. Well, fair enough. You see a Christian that lives that kind of life, talk to them. How does that work for you? Romans 15:14 says, I'm convinced, my brethren, that you're able to counsel or admonish one another. Give us okay, that's a better balance in life. And so moms need that and have varying degrees of patience. And I told Joe he's going to be part of this lesson. He's smiling now. And Joe Pisano gets 2 stars because on this past Friday morning, we study virtually every week. And this last week with Laura gone and he had the little guys, we met at IHOP. I said, hey, it's a guy's morning out. And I was just loved it. We studied and the little guys were really active. And Joe didn't fluster. He was calm. He was happy. He was cool. It just did, wow, how did that work out? Well, the boys were kind of hugging him, and then one's on one side, the other's crawling on the other, and then he said, oh, I think I can get all the way over there, and then the one kid's laying down, he's hugging one, how did he do? Cool as cucumber. It just did wonderful, wonderful job. And so dads can live this kind of thing. Think about this. That went a little dim before I wanted it to, that moms have incomparable mother's love. Jeremiah 31:3, God said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Titus 2 and verse 4, for the older women to encourage the younger women to love their husbands. And that Greek word is phileo, to actually like them, to be friends with them. Hebrew over there. And to love their children. Sometimes moms say, hey man, I am done. But I thought about this, not all kids are equally lovable, right? Not all moms are equally loving. You get everything. And I thought about these various principles. Usually a mother's love begins before the child's born. They're already thinking about it and planning for it and loving that little baby. And at birth, her body is flooded by a number of chemicals, but one of oxytocin, the bonding chemical. And NTD Genetics says, shortly after birth, often the baby will be placed against the mother's chest. This moment of skin-to-skin contact is important and often overwhelming for both mom and baby. Feeling the mother's touch and hearing her voice calms the baby and make him feel safe. And during the skin-to-skin contact, the mother's body releases oxytocin, the bonding thing. It's just, and you think about what the price that is paid. Moms lose sleep, are exhausted. They'll sacrifice their last bite of food. I looked on for Mother's Day. One of the top-rated things that mom wished they'd get as a gift is a nap on Mother's Day, just having a break. And think about moms, what you do to express that love in a zillion ways. A hug at the door, the I love you. You write them a note. There's a number of things you tell those young people, you are important. And so one person said a mother's love is like nothing else in the world. So moms, congratulations. We're all blessed because of that. What makes a good mother? Well, there's practical wisdom that they have. And the wisdom that dads use is sometimes a little different than how moms would express it. But in Proverbs 31:26, here is that worthy woman, and it says the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. A great friend and fellow evangelist, Lowell Williams, died a few years ago. And he talked about how his dad, here's a bunch of boys in the families down in Texas, how you settle squabbles. He says, all right, boys, here's a circle. You get in there and start fighting. The first one that falls out of the circle loses. Oh, go. So, well, that's one way of doing it, but maybe not the best way of doing it. If you nurture that aspect of, let's work on friendship in the family, because it's possible that that sibling may become your best friend later in life. In Proverbs 1 and verse 9, do not forsake your mother's teaching. Almost all of us at different times have our mother's voices still ringing in our ears. About make sure you change your underwear in case you get in an accident and have to go to the hospital. All these motherly kind of things. And a number of them really good. George Washington and a number of others, I just chose him, said, all I am, I owe to my mother. I attribute all my success in life to the moral, intellectual, and physical education I received from her. You go, moms, that's what you do for your offspring. And think about the practical wisdom that women express. If you fall off and break your legs, don't come running to me. And I thought, yes, sir, boy, okay, I'll make sure I don't do that. If you run with scissors and poke your eye out, then you'll see what I mean. You keep crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. What happens is moms have a secret mom book somewhere, and they all read the same thing. Don't make me come in there or you'll be sorry. And so it's just part of life. But what you're doing is nurturing and mentoring these young charges of yours and changing all our lives. Don't cross your eyes like that. One day they may freeze that way. So it's just all this stuff that's kind of fun, but that is a part of life. And you share your insights with your offspring. What makes a good mother? Mothers are, in fact, role models. 2 Timothy 1 and verse 5, Paul talks about Timothy, and I'm convinced that the sincere faith within you, which first dwelt in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. It was generational. Grandma had it, shared it with her daughter, who shared it with her son. And you get to do that too. 2 Timothy 3:15, how that from childhood you have known the sacred writings, that you sing Bible stories with your kids, and you do things that bring them. We're looking at starting up in the near future, restarting the morning classes and children's classes and such as that, and then maybe moderating the time to about 9:30 so it works better for everybody. But you're doing that because you're sharing these great principles with your children. In the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 16, Naomi has lost her husband, both sons, and therefore her daughters-in-law, their young husbands. And Ruth says to Naomi, when Naomi says, go back to your people, I'm too old to help you really in any way. And Ruth says, where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. And your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. And where you die, I will die. And there will I be buried. Well, Naomi was a mother. She was a mother-in-law, but a tremendous example. And Ruth wanted to follow her. So think about it, moms. You're the role model for your daughters to see how they should be living as a Christian woman. And you show your sons what kind of Christian wife they could be looking for. You are a role model. And then of course, I'm an otter. I love to play and have fun. And moms can be fun. And as you think about that, there's Bible passages such as Proverbs 15 and down in verse 15. The cheerful heart has a continual feast. Man, some people are morose almost all the time. Man, that's not a lot of fun. Now, it may be their own chemical, constitutional thing that it's difficult for them to control. But even in that, that's not a lot of fun. Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine. 1 Thessalonians 5:16, rejoice always. 1 Timothy 6:17, how you trust God who richly supplies us with all things to enjoy. And so I thought about that. It's a lot of fun if there's fun in the home, and think about designing it that way. But the reality is, not all moms are extroverted. Some are just more quiet and sedentary and such as that. And life's serious. But my attitude is, let's have some fun while we go through this serious life. And so, man, in our family, was when the girls were growing up and still is, man, we joke, we have fun, we play little tricks on each other. And so I just thought about some things. Kids, you might have some fun with mom. You know, you can take food coloring and put it in things like milk and turn it blue, and it doesn't ruin it, but isn't that cool? Mom opens the icebox, whoa, we got green milk today. Or you freeze the cereal or change the Wheaties over here into the shredded wheat box or whatever it is. That is, you're not hurting the other person. You're not destroying anything. You're not belittling anybody. You're just having fun. We do this all the time. Well, I don't change the color of milk, but we do something. Every week we're doing something, having fun like that. Or you might like to go racing go-karts or zoo or have date days with the kids. Maybe drawing together, or peanut butter cookies, or read, or a slumber party, or any kind of party. And what I call the wild horsey rides, even up into the time when my kids got to be 12, by the time 12 was plenty for me to give horseback rides. Because at 14, I want them to give me the horseback ride. But that's not the wild horsey ride. This is when they're younger, and they climb on my back, and we race through the house. I mean, we turn and go, and it works real well till you cut the doorknob a little too close, and wham, and the kid, wah! But those memories last forever. You're having fun together. It can be coloring together, camping inside the house or outside. You're just planning what's fun for us to do. Like this one graphic says, good moms let you lick the beaters. Great moms turn them off first. So, well, you know, how's that work in your house? I don't know. And so moms are hardworking and multitasking. Wow, Paul, wouldn't you want to do what they do? No, it's exhausting. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might. And so here's kind of the superwoman cape, and she's gardening and computerizing and cooking and on the phone and everything else. And Proverbs 31:15, talking about the worthy woman. She rises while it's still night, gives food to her family. And her hands, this New Living Translation version, her hands are busy spinning thread. She makes linen garments, she sells them. And her children arise and call her blessed, and her husband also. You've done good. You do tons, and we're so thankful for all you do. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. What makes good mothers? A mother encouragement is a blessing. You're in the process of teaching your kids. Well, what? Well, the principles like Philippians 4:13, I can do everything through him who strengthens me. It is a challenging. Let's break it in parts, or I can help you. And you're building those great attitudes in young people. Scriptures we love, Romans 8:28, all things work together for those that love God, for those that are called according to his purpose. I was just talking to Ron Swift. They have a travel trailer with one of these slide-out things, and it looks like waste management dump truck backed into a wham. But the reality is, if it's material, it's fixable, it'll be fine. It's just life. And so it helps us have balance. And I was telling Ron, when a number of us had gone down to Texas a few years ago after Hurricane Harvey and helped families rebuild their homes, one guy had lost everything twice. And one of the members of the congregation, one of the elders, introduced him to me. And I said, what's that like for you? And his attitude was so balanced. He said, it's just stuff. We had too much stuff anyhow. It's all gone. Well, how old was he? Oh, he must have been 60, but just balanced. Not a big deal. What's a big deal is people, right? That's what can't be replaced. So stuff, yeah, here and there. Romans 14, verse 19, let us pursue peace and the building up of one another. And that's what we try to do with the kids. Try to help them get strong enough to face their next challenge, and what is the next hurdle, and here's the good attitudes to display. You can make it, and I'm on your side. And so you're teaching them, encouraging them to find some kind of good in every situation. That is, the thing may not be good, but we can have a good attitude or see how Yeah, that was kind of disappointing, but here's some way that'll have a good result. Provide support for their dreams, for their potential that they haven't even dreamed yet. Listen to them. Listen attentively. Yeah, it's just kids talking. Remember that one negative element during a day doesn't ruin the whole day. So, well, you got a flat tire, you got blah, blah, and you missed the movie that you wanted to go see. Well, it'll be on this afternoon. It wrecks the day. It doesn't wreck the day. We just need to have a good attitude, be encouraging to the people around us. Real moms are imperfect, just like everybody else. You say, yeah, but I can't, and this is hard, and I didn't do that very well. Everybody has that. That's part of living and growing. And a person says, well, yeah, but my kids are all grown up, and I didn't make great decisions, and they are what they are. Well, that's fine. It is what it is. You can't, I don't mean fine that it's okay, but now what can you do? You can be an example to them. You can reach out to them if you have the opportunity. And sometimes the kids don't want to hear it. If it's not them, then somebody else's kids or your grandkids. I came across an essay that maybe a number of you have heard before, but it's impressive. It was an essay written by an 8-year-old saying, what is a grandmother? So maybe that's the way that you function. It says, a grandmother is a lady who has no children of her own, but she likes other people's little boys and girls. A grandfather is a man grandmother. He goes for walks with the boys, and they talk about fishing and stuff like that. Grandmothers don't have to do anything. Just be there. And let's see if I can get my little pointer to work here for me. It said, they're old, so they shouldn't play too hard and they shouldn't run. And when they take us for a walk, they slow down and show us pretty things like leaves and butterflies and things they never say, like, hurry up, we're going to be late. Usually, grandmothers are fat, but not too fat to tie your shoes. They wear glasses and they can take out their teeth and gums at night. Grandmothers don't have to be smart. They just can answer questions like, why isn't God married and how come dogs chase cats? Grandmothers don't skip parts of the story or even complain about reading the same story over again. Everybody should try to have a grandmother, especially if you don't have television, because they're the only grown-ups who have time for you. So it's just great. You might be a mother, a stepmother, a grandmother. You have that opportunity to give and build and encourage. It won't be flawless. Nobody is flawless, but it can be great. Real moms are imperfect. James chapter 3 and in verse 2 said, we all stumble in many ways. That's just part of life. Ecclesiastes 7:20, there's not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and never sins. Think about this. We were all imperfect kids, right? And we were raised by imperfect parents. And then we became imperfect parents raising imperfect kids. I mean, that's just a human condition. You say, well, yeah, but somebody else did so much better. They did what they did. We're all in a process of trying to do better than how we ourselves were raised. There's no way to be a perfect mother, but there's a million ways to be a good one. Ephesians 4:15. I just summarize this by saying we're all in the process of growing to be more like Christ. And that's where we are, as moms, as dads, as kids, as relatives, as Christians. It's a process of growth. True motherhood is a lifetime task, but also a calling and a privilege to change the world for the better, one life at a time. I frequently quote Acts 13:36. And David, after he had served the purpose of God in his own generation, fell asleep. Moms, that's what you're here to do. You change the world for the better, one life at a time. Happy Mother's Day. I'm so glad that God designed this. And so any way that we can be an encouragement to you, if you'd like to pray afterward, if you would like to study about it, or there's some challenge you'd like to talk about, or if you've not become a Christian, you said, I want to, we can do that today. You believe in Jesus Christ, you're willing to repent of your sins, confess your faith in him, and be buried in the waters of baptism. You would be so welcome. We're going to be singing number 440, My Jesus, I Love Thee. Won't you be standing as we sing? Brother Mike?